My name is Jared Brantley. I'm the Chief Automation Officer here at Raven Automation. What we're going to do is demonstrate a simple sub workflow that we can just plug into our future workflow builds. It manipulates tickets. In this case, it'll be status IDs. We want to grab a status ID off of a service board so we can update a ticket status. This will save us time by not having to go back and rewrite those actions over and over again. So this is our helper function. It's pretty straightforward. We have two simple actions that are here. It starts with two inputs. We have a field for service board name and a field for service board status name. These are meant to be text fields so that you can simply type in or paste in the name of the service board and the name of the status that you want to use. You'll notice that we've also got an output field. We've got this titled as Workflow Output Status ID, and you can see that we're going to populate this later with a service status ID variable. So the way this comes together, the first action that we have is a list service boards action. So we have a condition that's set here just based off of name. Name is going to be equal to service board name, which will be the string that we set on the input variable. When we return that in the transition, we'll create another data alias or variable called service board ID, and we'll populate that with tasks.psa_list service boards .result. Notice that we have an integer value here, .id. So the important part about this 0 that you see in between the square brackets there, anytime we're running an action that's a list action, the response that we're going to get is going to come in the form of an array or a list. And each one of those responses is going to essentially have an index number. So when we specify that 0, we're telling the response from the API that we want the very first response in that list of responses. In our API response, we're only going to have a single response here. So it's always going to be the first response. That's where that 0 comes into play. That's why it's there. We're going to come back down into the second action of listing board statuses. We'll take that variable that we just created, board ID, and we'll pass that in. We also have a condition where we're passing name equals service status name. That's going to give us essentially the status ID for that. We're going to populate a variable here, just the same as we did above. And we'll have tasks.psa_list_board statuses .result. Again, we want that first result that's returned, ID. So that's where we populate the service status ID. Again, go into the workflow properties by specifying that service status ID here in our output configuration for workflow output status ID. We've now told this workflow to return that status ID in its output. So how do we use that? In this case, we have a simple demo here where we've taken the sub workflow and we've brought it into another workflow. You can see that we've specified a board name. In this case, it's implementation MS. And we have a status name, in progress. We have an update ticket action here where we're going to set the ticket in progress. If you scroll down through the actions, you'll find that we're specifying a ticket ID somewhere in here. And you can see we're calling our status ID. The ticket ID is all the way at the end of the list. We'll not scroll down there. After we set that back, we're using the same sub workflow all over again, except this time we want the closed status. And we'll update the ticket again. Notice when we take the workflow, we're populating a status ID data alias here, or variable, and we're simply using result.workflow output status ID. So when we go to our set complete action here, you'll see that status ID is being populated there. So let's run this. When we do, we'll get a quick test. By the time this is done, it's going to go set the ticket from new to in progress, and then grab the closed status ID and set that ticket to closed. Now, I hard-coded a test ticket in here, ticket number 8189. So let's pull that up in my PSA here. You'll see that right now it's new. Let's refresh this. We can see it's changed to closed. So now by using that little simple sub workflow, you can reuse that over and over in every one of your workflows anytime you need to manipulate a ticket status without having to rewrite those actions again.